Obviously, a lot going on. I think more than anything, even the end of practice, just not just there's a lot of people here, but high school coaches like they'll be next week. Also some families too. So, try to get my mind right about how practice went, and then try to swing over there and say hello and meet some other people. But more than anything, I think for day one, the thing I wanted to see was, do we have the energy, and do we have the discipline to do the things we need to do through the whole practice? And without watching the film and stuff, I feel really good. I told those guys afterwards, I think 2 hours and 12 minutes, under 2 hours and 15 minutes for what we want to do is really where we want to be. And we were able to get everything in that we had down in under 2 hours and 15 minutes. And I think that's the pace, that's the tempo that we're training ourselves for. There's a reason why we don't condition. It's because that's the way we practice. So they did a great job, obviously, with the effort and the attitude. They did a great job competing with each other. Without pads on, it sometimes can get a little bit out of control at times. But I thought they did a really, really good job for day one, and we'll just have to build from here.
What's the anticipation for day one like, and before and kind of when you get out to that field?
It was. Now we do some stuff there the last couple of weeks that kind of, hopefully got us into a rhythm. Even as coaches, to have a little bit better idea of what you got. But I think in day one, it was a lot like Christmas morning. Just kind of waiting to get here, to get an opportunity to, kind of truly let them go and play against each other and compete. Because you never really know how that's all going to work out. Do we have the discipline enough and the respect for one another enough to, compete like we do, but then obviously not lose our minds? Because we're going to push the guys. We're going to push them to compete with each other. That's the whole idea behind, the competitive spirit and the iron sharpens iron stuff. And sometimes when you do that, if you don't have the discipline to, kind of make sure hey, we're one team, I think it can be a bit of a trouble. But I thought for more than anything, I thought that's what we were looking for today.
You mentioned how much time you guys spend on the field. Some coaches will grind them for longer than that. Some will go shorter. Is that ballpark for you, what you normally do?
Well, we want to get 2 hours and 15 minutes of work.
Okay.
And if that means it takes us 3 hours to get 2 hours and 15 minutes of work, then it'll take us 3 hours. But I think today we got 2 hours and 15 minutes of work and 2 hours and 12 minutes. So we have we kind of have a tempo to which we want to do things and the way at which we want to do them. And we're not gonna sacrifice what we need to get done. And if it takes us a little bit longer, if we have guys that aren't disciplined enough to get themselves back, get themselves ready, we lose our emotions and things start to happen, it prolongs what you do. So that's why I said for day one, I've been impressed with how they handled that. And it'll get more difficult because as you get a little bit more tired and into day 5, day 7, day 10, we'll have to continue to keep this up.
Luke, have you liked the buy-in in general? You never know with new staff coming in, players, existing players.
Yeah, I think there's more than anything. In the first month, what I realized was the type of kids, that we have here, and I felt like, hey, no matter what, as long as we do things with consistency and we show the respect that we want them to have for us, these guys are going to buy into what we're doing. We all know as you get further along, winning cures a lot of things and helps you buy into a lot of things, but I can honestly tell you that these guys have kind of open arms, had a great attitude about, from the way we train, which is a little bit different. The way that we, even go about some of the off-season stuff is a lot different to them. The morning workouts, the 5:45 or 6 a.m. kind of mat drill stuff, which is different. And you're always, at least for me, always trying to evaluate more than anything, an effort level, but really an attitude of how you do it. And I can honestly say I think the greatest thing that what I've been as impressed with as anything in the last 3.5 months of being here is just the attitude, the openness to what these guys have done for us and what we brought in.
Luke, I know it's the first day, so it doesn't really matter at all, but I guess just how
it does matter.
No, I guess just how do you guys try to kind of spread out the reps and just go about trying to,
Well, there's no real spots. That's the thing. When you can go 1s, 2s, 3s, call it 1A, 1B, 1C, like you're giving guys opportunities. And I think that more than anything, we don't want guys to get caught up in what group they're running with. The reality is we got to get work done. You got to get reps. You got to see yourself on film. The greatest indication to guys that got a passion are the guys that get better. And if you evaluate yourself on film and you have a chance to go from day 1 to day 2 and get better, then you got a good chance. And so we try not to say, hey, don't worry about who's running with what groups. Everybody's going to get hopefully about the similar amount of reps, give us a chance to evaluate each other. And hopefully each and every day, practice-wise, we'll be able to adjust those things. You'll see different lineups up front as offensive line. You'll see different guys in the defensive line. Obviously wideouts are more natural to kind of roll through there, and even the quarterbacks.
I guess just as a follow-up, because you're playing to kind of divvy up the reps equally?
As much as we can. I mean, obviously, as guys start to separate themselves, and a lot of that comes down to the knowledge. You don't want to put a guy out there that can't continue to play a little bit faster, and what sometimes slows guys down their ability to continue to get more reps is sometimes just mentally how they can handle it. And so some guys are going to have to do a little bit more mentally as far as, hey, you're going to take some more mental reps. You might not get as many physical reps as we get moving. But you try to, especially in the first 3-4 practices, you want to give everybody opportunities to get out there. Maybe they're not all equal, but hopefully they're somewhat that way.
Luke, did you tell anybody who's playing a little bit faster than the other people?
It's really hard to say. I mean, there's not anyone in particular that kind of stands out. I hate to do that and point out fingers, but I think for the most part, from what I'd seen in some of the OTAs, I think the wideouts and DBs, their ability to play at the tempo that we're playing at is impressive so far. And wideouts are rolling enough, and there's enough depth there right now to get evaluations. But I would say there's a lot on those guys' plates for the way that we play offensively and defensively. And they might be the guys I've been as impressed with to say, okay, they went out there today, took to heart what I said maybe in the team meeting about don't worry about mistakes and just play with effort, play with speed. We'll correct the mistakes from film. Those are the guys I think probably jumped out at me today.
If I could ask a non-practice question, you brought Pat and Max here for your recruiting department right away. Why are they so important to what you want to do, and why do you trust them so much?
I think everything that we do has, kind of the culture of the program behind it. So it starts with their ability to buy into the effort at which we do things, the attitude at which we do them, the energy we have. So by nature, that's kind of where they started with their guys with great attitudes, great effort, and incredible energy. And having being around them for the last 5 years, even 6 years, I think maybe with Pat and Max, maybe with 5. I mean, they've gone to about every role within our program, from GAs to quality controls, coaching on the field. They're just the guys you want with you no matter where you go. If they weren't in the recruiting department, they would either be a coach or they'd be a quality controller. They'd be somewhere in our program. And you got to have, at least for me, you got to have people. You can't do this by yourself. These programs, it's so much about all the people that are around you that is so critical. They're a big part of it, whether it's on the field or not.
You've got 2 tailbacks who have playing experience, basically, Braylon and Ches. After that, maybe question marks.
Yeah.
Jackson Aker went from fullback. Is it a transition for him to be a running back?
I think Jackson's a really good football player. We'll find ways to use him. It might be some tailback. It might be some H-back. It might be some fullback. As of right now, we're just having him try to learn multiple things. But we will find a way to play with him on the football field. What he did last year in evaluating his film was really impressive. And so right now it might just be a little bit more of tailback. But he'll be a guy that we'll use in many different ways.
Luke, I know the weather may not have been as cooperative today, but just with recruiting, and I know you mentioned in February talking about using spring in terms of recruiting. What's going to be your approach in terms of trying to bring, for recruiting?
Well, we had a plan to go outside today. I've been watching it since 10 days prior, right? And 10 days ago, to come up on my phone, it was 51 and sunny. And then it went to 49, and then it went down to 48, and then all of a sudden this little snowflake popped up there about a day or two ago, and so we had to adjust and adapt our Saturdays, which is why we practice a bit later, trying to get outside at 10:30 when the sun's up and feeling a little bit later in the day. But we improvised, we adapted, and it'll still be a great day. We had some guys that were here today. Today wasn't as big of a day as maybe next week, just because it was day 1. Of getting the guys there on Saturdays, but it'll be a big day for us that we spend a lot of time doing recruiting, trying to get guys here, because you're practicing in the mornings on Tuesday, Thursday, so obviously the most natural time to get guys here and families here is on Saturday. So the day doesn't end when the horn blows right there. It kind of, a new phase of the day just begins.
Luke, in terms of what you saw out there, not who, but what about the quarterback group stood out today?
I think confidence-wise, sometimes you can see guys kind of wear their emotions on their sleeve. It's chaotic, and defensively they're doing a lot of different things. Now all of a sudden you add rush guys from just the walkthroughs that we had been doing, and so you see some errant throws. You see a swing pass that sails over a guy's head, which you would say, oh man, that should be an easy throw. And I just watch the demeanor. I just watch the body language of a quarterback to see, okay, hey, can he handle it making a bad throw or throwing the thing over a guy's head? And I think more than anything with those guys, I didn't see a guy flinch. I didn't see a palms up. I didn't see a guy start to mope and pout. They understand the process, and the next play is the most important one. So I think for the most part, I was happy with those guys and just how they handled themselves more so demeanor-wise, because we all know everybody looks to them, and you're going to feed off of that guy whether you're an offensive lineman or not. I know there's not a huddle, but there's a sugar huddle, and if you can't look in that guy's eyes and see some confidence, I think it becomes difficult on a lot of people. So I thought they did a great job of that.
Just how important are these first few practices for the position coaches and Phil and Mike to kind of get to know the room and just kind of imprint what they want to do on the scheme?
I think what's critical for us is we're going to be a team that's going to coach our guys hard. And I think that when you see on the field, when you start to add a little bit more of that energy and emotion, they start to see that that hard, tough coaching. And so it's really critical that you got a relationship so that you can do that, because it's not the easiest thing if you don't have a relationship with a guy. It's hard to push him. It's hard to put that pressure onto a guy, and even in practice. So I think these first few, it's really important for us, not just how we handle practice, but now how we will go into the meeting room and kind of show a different light of how you can how you be as a coach with the trust and respect that you got for one another. So I think there's a balance there. I think you've got to have these days for guys to recognize, okay, this is what the intensity looks like as a way they're going to coach us hard. Now we can go into the meeting room and continue to build our relationship. Or I can get frustrated when I'm coached hard, but ultimately when I walk away and I understand that they got the best interest and this is very intentional, it builds the respect and the trust amongst the whole group.
Guys, got time for maybe one more.
One of the things that stood out was how fast-paced you guys were moving between drills. What's the intention behind doing that?
We don't condition. I think that, I said, we want to get 2 hours and 15 minutes of work. And if it's going to take us 3 hours or 2 hours and 45 minutes, then we'll be out here for 2 hours and 45 minutes. But if we do it efficient, if we do it with intensity, you can get it done in 2 hours and 12 minutes, I think, like we did today. So all those things are a part of what we do. I said that your coach isn't laid back. It's not going to be anything within the program. It's going to be very laid back and kind of chill. It's just the nature of what we want to continue to create, from the way we train, the way we practice, and then the way we play. So all those things is very intentional. That's why we kind of had a couple weeks where we were trying to modify what a practice looked like, and it was not just how you play, but how you go from drill to drill, the intensity that you got to have. That's how you build the condition in this game.
You mentioned that 2 hour 15-minute number. Just where'd you get that from? Just what do you mean by trying to get 2 hours 15 minutes of work? Whether it's 2 hours 12 or
so on the script you have, okay, this is a 5-minute period. This is going to be how many plays are in the period, right? If you get done like you saw in a drill of mini field, there's 5 minutes. All of a sudden we're done with 1.5 minutes to go. It means we were efficient as really, really quick. So say, hey, you got 1 minute and 15 to get a drink while they're still doing one-on-ones, or the offensive line, defensive line were together, and then we'll go to the next drill. If all of a sudden that drill took 8 minutes, we weren't going to stop the drill. This clock was set at 0, and then we'd be back a little bit. You go from drill to drill, you lose emotions, you have those fights and things start to happen. Well, they take a lot more time. We're not going to cut out the reps we got to get. So you got to have the discipline to be able to control yourself. You got to have the discipline to go from drill to drill, as coaches as well. So we're a big part of that too.